Good morning, everyone. My name is Julie Samuel Westman, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to Kansas City Oasis. For those of you that are here on the Zoom call with us, as well as those of you joining us on Facebook Live or that might watch this at a later time, welcome. I hope everyone's having a great Sunday morning so far. A little bit about our community. We're a secular humanist community that feels that the human experience is better when it's shared, and we're grateful that you have spent this time with us or decided to share this time with us this morning. And something else about us, if you're new to Oasis, is that we gather around our 5 values, which are people are more important than beliefs, reality is known through reason, meaning comes from making a difference, human hands solve human problems, and be accepting and be accepted. We have an exciting lineup for you this morning. If I can keep my voice going. First up, pardon me, will be our musical guests, Betsy and Clark. They'll kick off our program this morning. Then we'll have our community moment from Melanie and Clay Bollinger. And then our featured speaker later this morning will be Kelly G. Loeb. So with that, I'm not going to prolong this. Let's get the show on the road, as they say. And we will turn it over to Betsy and Clark. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Good morning to everybody. We're just really pleased to get to share some music and be a part of the community this morning. Let's play this old traditional tune, and we'll sing a song right after that too, another old song. All right, it's called Old Gray Eagle. That's a traditional fiddle tune. That's an Ozark rendition. It's called Old Gray Eagle, and it's one we really love. Just a beautiful sound. Thank you all very much. We'll do a song now that we learned from my fiddle mentor and personal inspiration, the 104 years young traditional fiddler and singer from the Arkansas Ozarks, Violet Hensley. She's still singing and playing to this day, and we learned this song from her. It kind of sums up who she is and words we like to live by too. Yeah. Called Fill My Way Every Day with Love. 2, 3. Joy with love. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If I can talk, I have just a real quick question for you. So have you guys been, are you back to performing in person at this point?
Yes.
Yeah, we've done a little bit, just a bit. We in May we got back together with our bandmates. We have some bandmates that live across the state, and we hadn't seen them in about 16 months or something. So we've had our band reunion.
Nice, how exciting! I know that's something that a lot of us have looked forward to is getting back to in person. We have sort of a roadmap here, so how we're going to do that for our community. So it's a question I like to ask everybody, and I'm sure that just is a different kind of energy. I mean, Zoom is lovely, don't get me wrong, but different kind of energy with having a live crowd, I would imagine.
Yeah, live crowd and just interacting musically with larger ensembles, and because we both do a lot of teaching, so we've been teaching online and there's a lag in time, so there's no actual real-time feedback musically. So being able to be in the physical presence of another person with instruments in hand, it's just a whole other universe of experience, and it's so nice to start to enjoy those again.
Wonderful. Well, we look forward to more lovely music, more traditional sounds from you this morning. My family's roots are in the Ozarks, and yeah, that makes me feel like old home. So I appreciate you joining us this morning, and we look forward to more from you here just shortly. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So with that, I'll go into before we get too far down the road, something unique has happened today. I have a live studio audience with me this morning, besides a cat. Oh, Sarah. Sarah's actually here with me this morning. And a cat. I mean, there's always a cat. But that's my live audience today. I don't really know. I guess that's part of the in-person experience that we've been missing up to this point, is we have an actual audience. A few announcements. We are still collecting funds for the Veterans Community Project to get a brick for the Walk of Honor there, to make a donation to help support their efforts. You can find that if you go to kcoasis.org and go to the donation section. You can earmark a donation to help support that effort. We also have our program, Yard Signs of Love. If you have somebody in the Oasis community that you'd like to give a little love to, either for a celebration or for maybe something tough that's going on in their lives, we have those available for a $30 donation. We will go and do that. We'll move into some celebrations that we have. We had a big one yesterday. Our very own Julie and Will Manning got married yesterday. So some of you probably saw that on Facebook. Big, very exciting, and so happy for them, and looking forward to congratulating them in person. We do have some birthdays. I think there's one we missed last week. I know for a fact. Taylor Gibson, their birthday was on the 16th. And then coming up this week, we have Kara Q on the 19th, and Kat Gabriel and Galen Teese on the 21st. I might be getting this wrong. Nope, I think that's right. And also Steve Morton on the 21st. And we also have one of our board members, Mark Dixon. It's his birthday on the 20th. And if you would like to get him a birthday gift, you could volunteer to participate in Community Moment. I know he's scheduling in August going into the future, so you have some time to give it some thought. But if you'd like to do a Community Moment, I'm sure Mark would love that gift of helping him arrange that. So without any further ado, we'll get into today's Community Moment, which will be presented by our very own Melanie and Clay Bollinger. We asked them for 3 words to describe themselves, and they chose adventurous, dedicated, and sweaty. And if they had a warning label, it would be may contain nuts, which I'm hoping they will explain, or not. I mean, either way, whatever you want to do. So with that, let's turn our attention to them. Good morning, friends.
Good morning. Hopefully I'm getting this screen to share shortly. And there we go. Can you guys see our screen? All right. Mel, you want to lead us off?
Okay, so as a lot of you know, a couple years ago, Clay and I we kind of started a fitness journey, and it was sort of out of the blue. A friend of ours said to Clay, "Hey, do you want to do a triathlon?" And Clay said, "Okay." And in order to avoid being left in the dust, I said, "Okay, I'll do it too." And at that time, I couldn't even run 1 mile. I was not in any kind of shape at all, but I had been an athlete in the past. I had been in the Army, so you got to run for the Army. You don't have a choice in that. And then in college, I was on the rugby team, so you have to run for that. But since we've been married and had kids, we sort of got out of the habit. So, Clay, do you want to talk about your athletic background?
Sure. I mean, so in high school, I was very athletic. I mean, I was a soccer player from way back. I high jumped. I played football. Well, I actually got recruited my senior year to be the punter and place kicker for my high school team, and wound up being the top punter in the state of Missouri back in '98. But then I got to college and I forgot about sports and pretty much spent the next 20 years. I actually got injured just a little bit in high school and had a doctor at one point tell me I should not bother fighting through the injuries and just take it easy and be nice to my knees. And for some silly reason, I listened to him. So I took 20 years off of being athletic. And then when our buddy Darren said, "Hey, you want to do a triathlon?" I was like, "All right, let's do this. Let's go see if this body can still do anything." So here we are, and we'll talk a little more about what we've been doing and why we do what we do. So I guess we do it all for the bling. It might be one of the reasons. That's certainly a very minor reason, but it does make for a cool looking wall with lots of neat shiny things and lots of good t-shirts. Lots and lots of t-shirts. Don't know what to do with all of them. So health. So one of the biggest reasons we do what we do is it's definitely improving our health. I mean, I had a physical the other day, and my blood pressure is better than it's been in a long time. My cholesterol's down. I've been borderline having high cholesterol for years, and no issues whatsoever. We've proven that we do have some health issues. We run into problems as we push ourselves. But so far, we've been able to really push through and improve. The one thing, if you are starting a fitness journey, do it carefully. Consult your physicians. I've certainly had several instances where I've had problems that I needed to get addressed and get advice on how to address. A lot of stretching, a lot of physical therapy time. But as they come up, we figure it out. We go get help. We knock them down, and we move on. And at this point, I've got my body beaten into the point where it's pretty much given up and said, "Oh, you're serious? You're going to do this? All right, let's go." Mel's been pretty lucky. She stayed very healthy throughout all of this.
All right, so another reason that we do this is for the runner's high. It is real. The endorphins are addictive. And I can tell you, if I don't get my endorphins, I get cranky. So there's just no better feeling than that sense of accomplishment after a good race. And Clay will tell you that endorphins make me happy, and happy people do not kill their husband. So he fully supports me getting my endorphins in.
She has a shirt that says that too.
It's true. We believe
that. I'm good with it as long as you keep getting those endorphins. Killing your husband. So camaraderie. So there's lots of opportunities for camaraderie as we do these things. We've actually got a group of friends that has expanded into a bigger Facebook group where we post our workouts and we encourage each other. We're also part of teams. The One DOS Foundation is a group that we're tied into that helps people who need a head start on their fitness journey. And the picture shown here is a lot of those One DOS folks. We did a Rugged Maniac together a couple years ago in the rain. It was a beautiful day, nice and muddy and wet, but we had a hell of a time. Very supportive. Yeah, so we do group rides, we do group runs. We find lots of opportunities to do these things with other people, but we also do a lot of it on our own. And then when you get out on a course, like I did a half Ironman a couple weeks ago, and that is a hell of an undertaking, and everybody's going through a lot to get through it. And the level of support on the course from both fans and from the other athletes is just amazing. Everybody's supportive. You know, when you're cramping up and sitting on the side of the road and needing a hand, everybody's asking help or being motivational. It's a wonderful feeling to feel like you're part of that. Now, that being said, the swim portion of these triathlons is brutal. Yeah, that Des Moines half Ironman, I swear, all these wonderful, nice people, they're sweet before they get in the water, and they're sweet after they get out of the water, but they'll just run you over and punch you and everything in the water. It's crazy. But then once you're out of the water and everybody's on dry land, everybody's buddy again. It's the weirdest thing.
All right. So positive body image. So, you know, one reason people might start a fitness journey is to change how their body looks or how they feel about their body. And that's maybe one reason that I started. I wanted to maybe overcome some negative feelings I had by changing how my body looks. And, you know, through the journey, I figured out that it's not about how my body looks. I've got wrinkles, I've got jiggly parts, I've got cellulite, I got gray hairs coming in because the kids, I'm blaming the kids for that. But I've learned, you know, regardless of all of that, you know, my body's doing great things for me, and it can take me on all kinds of adventures and really do amazing things. And so I've learned to, you know, love my body for as it is, because regardless of whether, you know, I meet some kind of societally bullshit idea of what a female body should look like, you know, learn to really just respect and appreciate what my body does for me day in and day out, because without this, I wouldn't have a conscious being. I wouldn't, you know, be able to do anything. And so it's just really changed kind of my outlook on that.
So adventure. So we do a lot of trips and we get out a lot, and all this exercise just gives us a great opportunity for better, cooler pictures while we're out doing stuff, I guess. I don't know. So this picture is actually from the South Dakota Badlands. So, you know, you're in the Badlands, you know, yeah, you can take your car ride and go for it, or you can just hop on the bike and do 25 to 70 miles through the heat of South Dakota, because it's fun. You know, we also, you know, as we look at races and look at things with things to do, some of them become destinations, opportunities to go see and do things we haven't places we haven't been, and do things we haven't done, turn them into mini vacations. And then anytime you're challenging yourself, and we've challenged ourselves a lot, it's an adventure.
So meditation. So one thing about kind of doing these longer workouts to prepare for a longer kind of endurance race, you get in the zone a little bit. And I'm not good at sitting still and like sitting with my thoughts and all that. I just can't do it. But if I'm out there, you know, on a run, it gives my brain a chance to kind of process things and, you know, spend time with my thoughts that I wouldn't do. And so I know some people do walking meditation, some people can sit still and do that, but I'm not good at it. But I've gotten better on this fitness journey. It's given me a place where I can be with my thoughts and process things while I'm out there doing, whatever. This morning I did a 2.5 hour run, and it just gave me time to process all the things from last week and just solve some world problems. And I might forget until the next run the problems that I solved, but it's really been helpful for me mentally to get out there and do this stuff.
We solve a lot of the world's problems while we're running or biking. It's amazing. Unfortunately, we don't seem to be able to follow through with them, but things to work on. So endurance, Mel hit on it a bit. When we started, neither one of us could hardly get through a mile in continuous running. And if we did, a mile hard or multiple miles, we were done for the day. It's like, I'm going back to bed. I'm going to sleep. Now we've built up that energy level. We've taught ourselves to be able to cope with this and really built up that endurance. And now, we can get through these long workouts in the morning, and we're good. I still have energy for the rest of the day, and it's
keep up with the kids.
Yeah, we've somehow managed to keep up with the kids. Sometimes that's a struggle, but yeah, that's kids. It's amazing. We went from barely being able to do a mile to now, Mel's training for a marathon. She's done one marathon, and I'm, I just finished a half Ironman, and I'm looking towards my next one, hopefully. So it's a huge change. It takes time, it takes effort, but you got to start somewhere. If you struggle now, that shouldn't stop you from starting. Don't let that stop you from starting. You will get stronger, and you can go farther and longer.
All right, charity. So one kind of nice thing about doing races and different events, a lot of them support different causes and charities, and so that's one thing I look at when I sign up for a race is what charities associated with it, and you often have the option to donate more money or participate in a fundraiser or a team, and so we've supported a lot of different things that way. We did some virtual races just partly just to support the charity during COVID. And then like this picture's from the Matt Mason Triathlon, which works with a few different charities supporting veterans. And that's something, since I work with veterans day in and day out, that's something that I strongly believe in. So that was a real moving event to be able to participate in a way that's supporting a cause that you want to support. So it kind of helps you motivate you through the race and feel good about doing it.
The competition. So I've got a pretty serious competitive streak in me. It comes out excessively sometimes. I'll take a break for a year or two, and then I get desperate for competition. I'm definitely in one of those streaks right now. This picture kind of sums it up. That half Ironman in Des Moines was one of the most painful things I've ever done. The swim was tough. The bike, I'm really good on the bike, and I did fine. But the run, I hurt that whole run. I was cramping up, and I was in pain, and I survived. And we got close to the end, and this lady behind me in this picture, she's right next to me at one point, and she's like, "Okay, I'm going to run the rest of this." And I hear her say that as I'm walking, and I'm like, "Oh crap! Okay, I got to run this." So I found the energy, and I got through it, and I ran it out, and got across that finish line. So and I continue to try to compete against, and mostly it's against myself. I mean, we're competing against ourselves. I don't have yes, I'm a pretty decent athlete, and I'd like to think that I can be at the top. Probably not going to happen. But as long as I keep improving on what I'm doing, that's what I'm looking for. So that's what keeps me going and keeps me motivated, among other things.
All right, and then why do we do anything in life? But I think one of the biggest reasons we keep coming back and doing it all again, despite the uncomfortable moments that may come up during training or during a race, at the end of the day, it's a hell of a lot of fun. And so even if maybe racing or athletic kind of thing isn't your thing, find something in your day-to-day life that is a hell of a lot of fun, because no matter what it is, that'll be worth it in the end.
Yeah, and then what are we up to? The next big things for us. So I'm training for another half Ironman. I'm thinking this. I've been through one. I've got a better plan for this one. I hopefully know what I'm doing. And so I will be back at it in Waco at the end of October, hoping for a little cooler weather.
Yep, and I'm training for Chicago. Chicago's been on my bucket list for a long time. I lived in Chicago in my early 20s, and my apartment was right next to that marathon race course. And I would watch those runners go by, or the hand cyclists, and I would think to myself, there is no way I could ever do that. And now I'm going to do it. So.
All right. That is all we've got.
Fantastic. I feel tired. After after your community moment, but I also feel kind of inspired, actually. Yeah, I don't know. You would think with the time that we've spent by ourselves, it would be easy to stay motivated to get outside and do stuff, but it has not turned out to be the case in the back half of quarantine, so or social distancing.
It certainly helped us through COVID.
Yeah, I don't think we would have coped as well with 2020 without
they canceled all our outlet. They canceled all our races last
all the
year.
in-person stuff, yeah.
But we still kept going in the hopes that maybe one of them wouldn't get canceled.
Yeah, I saw one of my favorite. I mean, in your rack of medals is super cool. I think we had that comment in the chat. I really love that. It's really neat. I have my one little one back here on this wall, or a couple. I guess the color run I think is really fun, and then the groundhog run. So if you're sort of not an athlete like me, those are kind of a nice place to start, because there's fun baked into a run like that. If someone's trying to think about getting started. Any other tips for somebody just getting started? I guess single journey. I mean, the journey begins with the first step, right?
So I think one of the biggest things that helped us get going was having races on our schedule. I mean, something that we put money into, so we paid for this race and we put it on the calendar, and you've got a date that you're working towards.
And you have to have a training plan that tells you, okay, here's what you have to do to get there. And just one day at a time. Don't look too far ahead on the training plan, because
it'll scare the crap out of you.
just look at tomorrow.
I'm gonna be like this cat and lay back down. No, just kidding. Well, thank you so much for sharing, and it was lovely to see you. And I saw partial kiddo go by, so
they're floating around.
Yeah, I missed you guys, and thank you for sharing. That was fantastic. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, and so you might get to you might win chat roulette this morning and be in a group with Clay and Melanie if you have more questions for them. And so with that, we will start our breakout rooms, and we'll be in there. We'll do that for about 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and hear some more music from our duo, Betsy and Clark. And I'll see y'all in 10 minutes. right, everyone, welcome back. Oh, Sarah's gonna hide. As I think we have about 40 minutes, people will start coming back from our breakout rooms, and then we will welcome back our musical guests. Before that, Betsy and Clark, if you don't mind, I'll ask you another couple questions.
Okay.
Okay. So something I like to ask all of our musicians is for you to talk a little bit about how you got started in music and what some of your earliest musical influences were.
You want to go first, Clark?
Oh boy. I mean, short story is my parents had a dear friend that was a concert cellist that would come over when I was like 3 or 4, and I wanted to play the cello, and they said, well, you can play any instruments you want, but you have to learn piano first. So I started piano lessons at 5.
Wow.
And took to it quickly. So I've been reading music just like words on a page since I was a kid. Musical influences are just all over the place, but and at just different periods of my life, I've gone into different things because I studied composition in college, but also jazz. So I have a huge free jazz influence. I studied with a couple of members of the Sun Ra Orchestra in the early 90s. But also I have always been exposed to and loved traditional American music or the rural traditions of American music. And so I've always kind of had my foot in both approaches.
Nice. So what? So piano is where you started, and we see you with the guitar. Did you learn to play the cello at some point, or what other instruments do you play?
Yeah, I played. I played cello. I don't keep the cello up now. That's the kind of instrument that you really have to dedicate yourself to a lot daily, and I do a lot of other things. So, but I play guitar, bass, percussion, piano,
banjo.
Yeah, I forgot. That was actually the instrument that brought me back from a long sabbatical from music.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, was the banjo. So.
And what about you, Betsy?
Well, I got a lot later start than Clark. I started playing violin when I was 6. But my first violin teacher, so my mom, she was a self-taught piano player. She's not really playing her piano nowadays. I wish she would, but she would play, out of the Rodgers and Hammerstein songbook.
Wow.
And my dad and I would sing along and everything, and music was a big part of my life before I even touched a violin. But there was a new teacher who came to town. This was in Fayetteville, Arkansas, my hometown, and he offered free beginning group violin lessons because he wanted to build up a studio of youth students, and took to it, and I just never looked back. I moved up to Kansas City, but so I took piano lessons too. I wasn't as good at that. I did switch from piano to harp for about 5 years, and I was fairly adept at the harp. And then picked up a viola too in high school. Came up to Kansas City and went to the Conservatory of Music here, and got a bachelor's of arts in music. Not a performance degree because I had different ideas about what that meant for me. Plus, I missed writing. We talked beforehand about I was writing poetry and I like to write about literature and all that too. And but it was not a fiddle; it was a violin. And I played in a rock and roll band after college, and I bristled at the word fiddle. But something happened, and I heard actually Alison Krauss. She was my gateway, and.
Yep.
I heard her fiddling and singing, and I thought, well, that's just amazing. And through a series of very fortunate events, I was directed toward earlier fiddle styles, in particular old-time fiddle, and found that Ozark fiddling made a lot of sense to me. I was exposed to it when I was a little girl here and there at different, events, festivals, and such in Northwest Arkansas. And I feel like it's sort of the music of my provenance. Like it's a part of me in a way that I didn't had no idea until I fell for it, and that was back in the mid 1990s when I realized that fiddle was what I was truly meant to do. And so I dabble in a couple other instruments here and there, but I don't practice them because I don't do it. I don't have the practice ethics that Clark does. But the fiddle, and I still play violin styles too. It's my total love. And Clark is indeed a great composer. I dabble in that. I've written fiddle tunes. I've written string arrangements for different recording sessions for other people or for ourselves, like on our albums and all that too. And I really enjoy that whole process. Yeah.
It's awesome. I'm a big Alison Krauss fan too. I got to see her live. I think even before that, I think that for a lot of people, the "Oh Brother Where Art Thou" soundtrack was maybe their first introduction to.
Yeah, that was a huge ambassador.
Old timey music, yeah, which is great. I mean, I love that movie just in general, and the Coen brothers. But yeah, that sound of old timey music that people hadn't experienced for a while. I think that was really great. Okay, so with that, I will stop yammering and we will listen to your next piece.
Well, thanks. It's nice to get to share a little background and everything. And well, we were inspired by the health journey discussion and everything, and it gave us an idea to change our minds on what we wanted to play.
We're real good yammerers too. We're good at it. We're good yammering.
Oh, yes.
But
yes.
The idea of endurance and energy and discipline, just we had something thoughtful and introspective to play in this segment, but we changed our mind, and we're gonna just do something that actually by the third or fourth time through, you're kind of thinking like, why did we play this, and how are we gonna...
Awesome. I love it.
And in fact,
it's also a heck of a lot of fun.
In fact, it goes through some peaks and curves where it's very subtle, but the tempo can settle just a little bit, and then when it resets, it picks back up. And so there's I'm an avid mountain biker, and Betsy and I ride together, and so I definitely know, I relate to those challenging yourself physically and all the ups and downs that come with that, and that next hill, and looking at it when you're already almost maxed out and stuff. So we're gonna play this one called Kansas City Railroad Blues.
Yeah, it is definitely an endurance tune on the fiddle too. All right.
sorry, I came off video. That was fantastic. Again, I feel tired after a presentation with a skill that, again, I do not possess, but deeply appreciate. So thank you so much for sharing your passion for music and letting us a little behind the curtain of how you got there. So we will look forward to another piece from you at the end of our program. So that's awesome. Okay, so now it is my pleasure to introduce our featured speaker for today. And let me find Kelly real quick. There she is. This is Kelly, everybody. A little bit about Kelly professionally. Kelly G. Loeb is an older adult care manager for Jewish Family Services of Greater Kansas City, where she provides education, resources, and support for aging with dignity and the best quality of life for seniors and their families. She does this in both English and Spanish. Sharing her expertise in Medicare health insurance, dementia, and caregiver support, Kelly works toward a world with health equity in which we all have access to affordable, comprehensive, compassionate, and quality health care, and Alzheimer's disease is just a memory. With her master's degree in social work from the University of Kansas and her bachelor's degree in English from the University of Missouri, Kelly loves both sides of the state line. Oh, how diplomatic. I love that. But she will always call Los Angeles home. As a member of the philanthropic service organizations, which include Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, the Epsilon Rho Omega chapter, the Links Incorporated, the Greater Kansas City, Missouri chapter, and United Methodist Women, Kelly heeds her call to do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. She indulges her curiosity about and motivation to help extraordinary people by recording People Magazine Weekly for visually and print impaired listeners via the Audio Reader Network. Kelly is always stepping up for charity, for a charity 5K. Oh boy, we have a theme running through our program today. She's chaired 4 walks, raising more than $20,000 for students at historically Black colleges and universities. She loves exploring Kansas City's parks, trails, libraries, and other treasures, and strives to exude her middle name, Grace, after her grandmother in all her endeavors. With that, it's my great pleasure to welcome to our community, Kelly G. Loeb. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the invitation to talk about what is a pretty charmed life, I have to say. June 2021 is going on my record as the absolute best month of my life. The only one I think that could have topped it is March 1976, which is when I was born. Otherwise, June has been pretty amazing, and it is because of some really wonderful and lovely things that I got to experience, which I want to tell you about if you will so indulge me. I have heard of Kansas City Oasis for, gosh, longer than I feel like is okay to say, considering this is my first interaction with anybody from Kansas City Oasis. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity to meet all of you and to hear your stories. I really enjoyed hearing about Melanie and Clay, and I'm tickled that I mentioned that I do 5Ks in my bio, because I am nowhere at the level of Melanie and Clay, but I think it's really telling. I think your message is that anybody can do it. Everybody can do it. Just do it. And so I appreciate hearing about your experiences. I'm impressed. I'm motivated to go find another 5K to walk. I won't be running, but I will walk and spread the word about how good it feels to just be in your body and love your body and give back to the world. So that being said, I will tell you a little bit more specifically about what Oasis invited me to speak about. One other thing that I have in common with Melanie and Clay, I took a note while they were sharing, and Clay said that they do it all for the bling, and that 100% resonates with me because I enjoy bling also. And I'm gonna just pull my screen down a little bit so y'all can see. I have this shirt on and it's pretty blingy. It's got a lot of glitter going on, and it reads Juneteenth, Kansas City, 2021, and it's got a silver crown on it. So that is my bling for today, and honestly, y'all, probably as many times as I can wear it in my life because I love it. I'm very proud of it. I love the bright, sparkly piece, and I love what it represents. So that's what I'm here to share with you today is that you may not have known that this title existed. I didn't until I got it. But I am Miss Juneteenth, Kansas City for 2021. And it is one of my great joys and honors in life. And I'll tell you a bit about how that happened. First of all, I don't know how many of alls there are going to be, but first of all, it came as a complete and total surprise to me. I had no idea that there was a Miss Juneteenth Kansas City, or that I would ever be anywhere close to being in the room for it. And that is why June 2021 was part of the very best month of my entire life. As I'm sure you all know, 2021 and 2020 before it have been a real time of reckoning for our world. And one of the gifts in that has been that many, many people and community agencies have been responding to the chaos in our world and to the challenges and to the painful things that are happening. And they have been responding in ways that are really lovely and meaningful. And one of them that I'm associated with is being Miss Juneteenth and some Juneteenth celebrations in Kansas City. And so, last May 2020, when things really came to a head with the George Floyd incident and others. I mean, it's sad for me to think that George Floyd is just one of many situations like that. But that was sort of a flashpoint for a lot of people and a lot of agencies in particular to speak up and say, okay, no, something needs to change. We need to do something different. And I was completely unsurprised that the agency I work for, Jewish Family Services, was one of the first, and it didn't take the George Floyd situation for them to speak up, but they joined a lot of other people and agencies in saying, we've got to speak up. We've got to unequivocally say that Black Lives Matter. We've got to support our community. We've got to give help where help is needed. We've got to make this better. And so they did that. And then fast forward to about April of 2021, and plans for the Juneteenth celebration here in Kansas City were emerging, and Jewish Family Services said, yeah, we will be at the Juneteenth event. We will have a table, we will give out free things, we will encourage people to use our services, and so on and so forth. And I knew about that. I was on board with it. I said, I will sit at the table as one of, currently we have about 50 staff, I think, at JFS. And of the 50 staff at JFS, there are, I will count them on my one hand, 3 of us who are Black. It's probably surprising to some people that there are any Black people who work at Jewish Family Services. And we're there. We've had more in the past, and I expect we might have more in the future. But as of this spring, we had 3. And so how could I not say, JFS, I will be at the Juneteenth booth, right? Of course I will. So I was kind of in on the planning for that. In the background, to my complete unawareness, one of my lovely coworkers heard that there is a crowning of a Miss Juneteenth and a Mr. Juneteenth as part of the parade and the festivities every year. And she wrote a beautiful essay about me. One of the questions that they asked for the application process was something like, who do you think is making Kansas City a better place? And to my great pleasure, she thought that I was the answer to that. And she sent in the essay, and I had no idea that any of it was happening. And on June 2nd, I get this email from Juneteenth KC saying, Dear Kelly G. Loeb, congratulations. You, if you will accept, are going to be Miss Juneteenth Kansas City for 2021. And I'll tell you all, my first thought was, is this a scam? What is this, a joke? Do they want money? What is that? Do I have to sell tickets for something? What is this a beauty pageant? Because if it is, no. What is happening here? And so I read the notes 3 or 4 times, and I still was not quite understanding what was happening until there was a line that said, your coworker, Sarah Cho, send us an essay about the work you're doing in Kansas City to support all kinds of people, and in particular, my favorite population, people who are over 60. And so then I thought, well, this might be true. So I called Sarah up, and she admitted to it. And she told me that she had sent the information in, and apparently there were several people who were nominated to be Miss Juneteenth and Mr. Juneteenth, because then my next thought was, there must have only been one applicant, so I won by default. And I want y'all to hear that that is somewhat false modesty. I mean, I do like to think I'm a good person and I do good things. It turns out that there was not just one applicant, there were several, and I emerged as the one they thought would be a good fit for this year. And what a great honor it was to have this title and to have it come simultaneously to the time that we have Vice President Kamala Harris, who is my sorority sister, and simultaneous to the time that she and President Biden announced that Juneteenth would become a federal holiday. I mean, just speaking of joy and validation and excitement, it really was a wonderful thing. I want to get back to that some, but I do want to tell you all about an experience that precipitated my coworker nominating me. And I've talked about it quite a bit with my coworkers and with my family. And speaking of family, if y'all see on the screen, the box that says Peggy G, that is my dear mom. And I'm so happy to see her visiting with us today. She lives in Los Angeles. And one of the great gifts of this pandemic is all this Zooming. I'm getting to see my mom much more often than I would have otherwise. So I would never wish COVID on anybody, ever. But COVID has allowed us to make some connections in ways that are just so amazing. So hi, Mom. Hi, everyone. But I'm going to go back to the story. I wanted to tell you that kind of precipitated my coworker thinking that I should be Miss Juneteenth. And there is a COVID connection, actually. Like almost everybody else, Jewish Family Services shifted to working from home after things, were starting to go amok in March of last year. So we were working from home. And one of the challenges for that was my daily role as a social worker for older adults is that I would go visit my clients in their homes. Many of them don't have transportation, living by themselves, needing some more support at home. And, pre-COVID, I would go visit 1 or 2 clients every single day, Monday through Friday. And then COVID happened. And of course, we know that at the time, the most vulnerable population for COVID was older adults. So that put a wrench in the works. We couldn't go see the very people who needed to be seen the most because the risk of getting this virus was so deadly. People over 60 are also not the people most likely to be able to get on a Zoom meeting, right? So what are we going to do? How are we going to be able to meet the needs of the population who really needs us and has the least ability to access us? So we shifted to this work at home model. And it was definitely a challenge for a while to try to keep in touch with our folks. But we got into a rhythm, we got into a plan, and we just had to spend more time talking to folks on the telephone and not in person. So about this time last year, about July 2020, I was assigned a new client who was having some of your typical challenges of aging, feeling isolated and lonely, even before COVID, even more so after COVID, because visits weren't happening, experiencing physical deficit, because of getting older, didn't have family that he was living with, just sort of your textbook, just was really in need of a lot of help. So he became my client. We talked on the phone probably 2 or 3 times a week from July to May of 2021. And I felt like we established a really nice rapport. We talked about all kinds of things, ways I could help him. He talked about the new place he was living, which is an assisted living facility here in Kansas City. I even bought him some pants because he said one of the things he really needed was some new pants, and he didn't have a way to go out and get the pants, and he didn't really like shopping. And so I devised a way to go find him a couple of pairs of pants, and I sent them to him in the mail because I couldn't get into the facility where he lived. So it was kind of a very old-fashioned response to a very real concern. So anyway, I tell you all of that to say that we built up a relationship that I felt was quite meaningful, and I feel like it helped improve his quality of life. Fast forward to May of this year, and we were on the phone, talking about whatever was going on that day for his life. And he said something that shocked me. I mean, it shocked me. It also didn't shock me all that much. It took my breath away and it hurt my feelings. And I guess I should tell you that this client is, I think he's about 68. He is Jewish. I'm not sure that that's all that important, but anyway, he is. And he's a white man. And we're talking, and he's having a hard day. He's just, you know, nothing is going right. He's not feeling well. Everything is terrible. And he starts to tell me sort of out of nowhere that the reason his life is so terrible is because Black people are terrible. And Black people are the source of every problem he has had in his life. And there is there is no Black person on earth who has ever done anything good. And you may be hearing that as melodramatic, but I promise you, this is exactly what he said. And I'm realizing as he is telling me this, he doesn't know that I am a Black person, has no idea. I think, but I cannot ever know for sure, that if he had known, he would not have said that. I mean, but maybe he would. I mean, if he really feels that way, then he wouldn't be bothered. He wouldn't be worried about hurting my feelings, maybe. But anyway, I don't know. We don't know. But he's telling me this and he's just ranting and raving. He even tells me that he grew up near 34th and Benton Boulevard. This house I'm in, you all, right now is at 3406 Benton Boulevard. And he says, nobody who lives at 34th and Benton Boulevard is any good. And then I'm thinking, is he yanking my chain? Does he know where I live? Nope, he doesn't. He really tells me that he grew up near 34th and Benton Boulevard in the 1960s. And, you know, the people were just, all those Black people were just terrible. So I could go on, you all are getting the point. So then I'm thinking, and the wheels are turning, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I say? Can I continue a social work relationship with someone who clearly thinks I'm terrible? Except he doesn't think I'm terrible, guys. You know, we've known each other for almost a year. And I tell you, every time we've talked up until this day in May, he is telling me how great I am and wonderful. And every time we talk, my pants, they just fit me perfectly and I love them and they're so stylish. And thank you for all you've done for me. And I'm sort of like morbidly tickled, like, ha, if only you knew, right? So finally there comes a break in the conversation and I take a deep breath and I say, client, it is important for you to know that I am a Black person. And you could have heard a pin drop. I mean, he was shocked. I believe he was as shocked. I don't know which one of us was more shocked. Was I more shocked about what he had said, or was he more shocked that he said it to me and got caught? So it was very strange for a while there. And finally, he found some words to say. And one of the first things he said to me was not, I'm sorry. He did eventually say, I'm sorry. But before he got to, I'm sorry, his more immediate response to me was, you sound white. And he said it as though it were a compliment, as though I were supposed to say, wow, thank you. I've always wanted to sound white. And I tell you, the feelings I had about that were quite mixed. First of all, I'm 45 years old. This is not the first time I've experienced racism, nor is it the last time that I will experience it. It is also not the first time that I have been told that I sound white and I should feel flattered by it. I grew up in Los Angeles, California. My own cousin used to call me a Valley girl because he said I sounded like those 80s girls in the mall. He wasn't wrong. I mean, I do. Okay, fine. But the truth is I sound like I sound. I sound the way I sound. I sound just like my mother. In fact, we can tell people on the phone that we are each other and they might not know. And my mother is, she won't mind me saying this, my mother is 72 years old and was born and raised in Lake Charles, Louisiana. You might expect her to sound a certain way. She sounds just like I do. What is sounding white anyway? I mean, look, having heard this before, I know what people mean. I even know what they mean when they say, oh, that's a compliment. They mean you sound smart, you sound intelligent, you sound, this is becoming a bad word, articulate. And all of that is notable because I suppose Black people are not supposed to sound smart, intelligent, or articulate. It is an exception and not a rule. So I heard it from this client. Again, it wasn't the first time. It won't be the last time. I've heard it from many clients in my life. I've heard it from white clients. I've heard it from Black clients. And I can't decide which one is stranger for me to hear. When I hear it from white people, I think, oh boy, okay. When I hear it from Black people, I feel like, come on, guys, don't do this to ourselves, right? You know? And then there's a wrinkle in that I do work for an agency called Jewish Family Services. And it is entirely reasonable to expect that someone calling you from Jewish Family Services is probably Jewish. I don't even get mad at people who say that because, you know, of course, that's common sense. And then we throw in the clever piece of information that my last name is Loeb. And not a lot of people know this, but Loeb is like a super Jewish name. So add, you know, I'm calling from Jewish Family Services. I'm telling you my name is Miss Loeb from Jewish Family Services. It's not really all that shocking that people say, I thought you were gonna be Jewish and white, and I'm neither one of those things. And so it's something to be reckoned with. And like I said a while ago, wasn't my first time experiencing that kind of conversation, wasn't my first time hearing about racism. That is the kind of racism that I think is insidious. And all racism is harmful, of course. But this is a kind of subtle racism that is not like, you know, you can't drink out of this water fountain. It's not that. It's not lynching. It's not Jim Crow. It is, we live in a world that is built on a certain set of expectations. And the expectation that I have for you as a Black person is different and in many cases lesser than the expectation that I might have for you as a white person. And that kind of racism is so much harder to navigate than don't drink out of this water fountain, don't sit in the front of the bus, don't buy a house in this neighborhood. So that happened and we talked more and I tried to explain in some way why telling me that I sounded white was not the compliment he meant it to be. And he eventually got to the point of saying, you know, I'm sorry. And I think he truly, whether he was sorry that he got caught, yes, probably. I think he had enough human nature to feel like, oh, I said a thing that was not nice and I'm called out on it. Have I changed his mind about all Black people being no good? I kind of maybe think so because he sure hadn't stopped calling me. I decided to keep him on as my client when I could have very well said, you know, I think somebody else would be a better fit for you. But I've chosen to keep him on as a client, not because I'm on a one-woman crusade to prove that all Black people are not terrible. Look, my energy cannot go there. I already know all Black people are not terrible. But I'm keeping him on as a client. And I told this story to my coworkers at Jewish Family Services. And like I said to you all before, there are 50 of us in total and 3 of us are Black. So I told this story because I wanted them to know that it happened. And I wanted to call them in to when your clients say things like that to you, and they will, about Black people, we cannot let them think that that's okay. It cannot feel like JFS is a safe place for that kind of thinking. So when your white clients tell you, my white coworkers, Black people are terrible or Black person never did anything good for me or any of that, you can't just say, well, I'm white too and we'll just keep this between us. You've got to call it out. You've got to say that kind of thing is not okay. And I guess I'll issue that challenge to you all. I can't see everybody's picture. I can see many white faces on my screen. Mr. Cecil Daniel, I sort of see your chat coming in and I'm so like curious. I'm trying to read what you say and also talk and everything, but I appreciate seeing your face. Hello, David. Thank you for turning your camera on. And then of course I see my mom. And where was I going with that? I guess I told you that story, not for any sympathy, because I'm okay about that. But to describe the kind of thing that happens that we address just as fervently as we address, you know, Black people cannot drink out of this water fountain, that kind of thing. So that happened, and it was one of the things that my coworker mentioned in her essay about me, was that she felt like I handled that situation with some grace, which y'all heard is my favorite word, and with some kindness and with some love. And I try to do that in all of my interactions. I feel like that's a better way to go through life, acting with kindness and grace and love. And then to shift it a little bit, she also mentioned, you heard in my bio, that my sort of platform, if this was like a Miss America kind of thing, my platform that I would run on would be, or is, making healthcare accessible and affordable, because it isn't. And it isn't for reasons based on systemic inequity in the history of this country, because of racism, because of classism, because of financial inequity, and 100 other things. And so my goal, I have a lot of goals in life, but one of my goals is to ensure that people have access to the healthcare that they need. I spent 10 years working for the Alzheimer's Association, and hoping toward the day when Alzheimer's would be just a memory. I started working there 20 years ago, and I sure did think that 20 years later, we would be talking about Alzheimer's the way we talk about something like polio, right? No one gets polio anymore. No one gets Alzheimer's anymore, right? Except for, yeah, they do. And so I spend a lot of time and energy helping to educate anybody I can talk to. In fact, in the breakout before we all got back together, we talked a little bit about Alzheimer's disease. So thank you for that chance. But helping to educate people about how to take care of themselves, how to get the care that they need, how to get the care that they need in a way that is accessible and affordable. You all heard in my bio that one of my expertise areas is Medicare health insurance. You also heard that I speak English and Spanish. And why am I tooting my own horn here when I bring that up? Because health, I'm fluent in English, I'm fluent in Spanish. I'm also fluent in health insurance, which I think is a language we all should know and understand so that we can get the best kind of healthcare. And so I work all year long, and especially during Medicare open enrollment, to help make sure that everyone, and in particular the most vulnerable among us, understand how to use their health benefits, understand how to get the coverage that they need, how to not spend more money than they have to. Last fall, I had a client who, if not for talking to me about his Medicare benefits, would have had to pay $600,000 for the year for a medication. $600,000 for one medicine. That's outrageous. That is not health equity. That is capitalism at its worst. Oh, and Oasis, I promise I'm trying to be very careful about your values and your rules and not get too political. Everything I say is my opinion and no one else's, just so you know. But anyway, that being said, it is really my mission to make sure that people can have what they need to live their very best quality of life. I have no idea how long I have been talking or when I'm supposed to stop, and I trust that one of you will get the hook out and say you have to stop when it is time, and I promise to respect that.
Okay, it's me. So, Kelly, I would love it. I would love it if you would be willing to come back and share. I mean, if as your schedule allows, I think we'd really love to schedule you to come talk to us about elder care and
Sure.
And what we do in that, how we can be supportive in that way, but also there's only one direction life's going. We're all getting older. Nobody's aging in reverse that I have met. Yeah. Benjamin Buttons here. So we would love it if you would come back and maybe give us a talk just focused on that. That would be.
I think it's pretty obvious that I am not ever at a loss for words, except for when the client tells me I sound white and Black people are terrible. That's the one time in my life I thought, I don't.
And I know I have no right to feel that, but that was painful to hear. And yeah, and like you said, I know you're not here for sympathy, but to help raise awareness. And you are correct. We are you know, a majority white group, but we try to do what we can to learn lessons, to listen, learn lessons, and then take action. Like you said, if so, you know, if we hear somebody, you know, see something, say something, hear something, say something. It's not okay for us to let that slide. In my mind, and I don't know, I was hoping that you were going to say this guy was like 98 years old, and I could be like, oh well,
yeah,
that's a different time. 68 is not I mean,
no.
getting caught or not, it's just not okay. And so we appreciate you. I have so many questions. I'm a big talker. Everybody here can attest to that. First, I want to know, okay, so with your title of Miss Juneteenth, I want to find just a little bit. Are there obligations? Do you speak? Do you kind of tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, I'm here with you all today as part of that. I was on a couple of the local news channels talking about, you know, Miss Juneteenth, and especially the timing of the new federal holiday. It's so interesting to me. I grew up knowing about Juneteenth since I knew what June was. You know, I mean, it's just a thing I've known about all my life. And something that has emerged out of all of this is that Juneteenth is like a really well-kept secret. For a lot of people. I think probably more Black people know about it, probably, especially in Texas, Louisiana. But I've certainly met Black people who have just found out about it, just like the slaves found out about it 2 years later. They just found out about it this year. And I've certainly heard from a lot of white people. In fact, just yesterday, I was in Sedalia, Missouri for a meeting, and a lady there said, this Juneteenth, I swear that's not a thing. And I never heard of that before, you know. So it's a new thing. It's an exciting thing. It feels like validation. Beyond the parade, which was amazing, if you are ever sad in your life and you just don't know how to get out of it, just go find a parade and get in it. It is amazing. People
that's a very Louisiana attitude. You got that.
Yeah. I mean, it's the best. They cheer, they clap, they tell you they love you. It's wonderful. So you heard it from me. So I did the parade, I did the festival, I got to make a speech there. I've done a couple of church groups. And the Juneteenth organizers have said that they want this to be, you know, like Miss America goes around waving for a whole year. They want it to be an opportunity, even now that it's almost July-teenth, they want it to be something ongoing and have, and there's also a Mr. Juneteenth, he's amazing. And so they want us to be available for running our mouths and helping get money and donations for things and just making Kansas City better. So it is going to be an ongoing thing. And gosh, in 2022, when there's a new Miss Juneteenth, they're gonna have to wrest the crown away from me. But I have my shirt.
You're not taking the shirt. You're not taking the shirt.
Not taking the shirt. But yeah, I think there's an opportunity, especially now that it's codified as a holiday. There's an opportunity for education and awareness, and I'm here for it. So yeah.
And I feel like, yeah, to your point, some white people have done the work to try to get educated, but I think, you know, we think about things, or especially in the last couple of years, you know, shining a light on things like the Tulsa race massacre and the fact that it, you know, took Galveston it took that long to get the word out due to well, white greed and those sorts of things. I think it's time. I mean, it's way past time, obviously, but we appreciate the work that you're doing for that here in Kansas City. I'm gonna see if anybody has any questions. I see some comments. We have one of our community members, Gary, is from Texas and said that yes, he was aware of it. But that, to that point, I think a lot of people have been willfully probably uneducated about that, and seeing a national spotlight on it and the timing, fantastic. I mean, I'm fortunate to work for a company that came out, and the next day they were like, this is a holiday we will observe tomorrow and going forward. And you know, that's the sort of energy that we need in this country, is not like, oh, well, now that's going to be an African-American holiday, they can do their thing, but just, you know, for the rest of us, especially those that claim to be allies, to really, you know, think, what are we going to do on that day? What ways can we be supportive of the Black community? Yeah. It's not about us, but what can we do to, you know, to be the right kind of ally. Do you have any advice in that vein? As you noticed, we're mostly.
Yeah, I hope I mentioned to another group I had spoken about is that having a holiday feels so validating and feels so supportive. It's so, it's such a great acknowledgement of our history. Not just Black history, but American history. And it reminds me of the King holiday. I was a little kiddo when that happened in the 1981 or 3. I was 5 or 6 or whatever. And the King holiday over the last 40 years has become, I think that there was probably some resistance to it when it was new, and then over time it has really become a day of reflection. I know there are a lot of conversations about making it a day on and not a day off. I'm in a couple of organizations that on the King holiday, we go and volunteer. We're not, having a barbecue. Well, it's in January, so you shouldn't have a barbecue. But anyway, all of that. And I hope that the Juneteenth holiday, I hope that the United States has matured as a country to take this Juneteenth holiday and really make it meaningful and not just another day for a barbecue and a mattress sale and a day off. I mean, I'm the first one to tell you, I love a day off. Don't get me wrong, but I hope it won't be diluted. I hope that now with all of the enthusiasm about acknowledging Juneteenth, I hope we can ride that wave of this holiday is meaningful, not just as an acknowledgement of 1863, but as a call to action for what we need to continue to do. I've known about Juneteenth for 45 years, and Juneteenth just became, a household name this year. And so we've got to take it and move forward with it. I think it's probably, if there's anything divine in this, if you believe in a higher power, I don't know. I think it's no small coincidence that this happened at the same time that we have our first Black female vice president. I told you I wasn't going to get political, but I don't think it would have happened before now. I'll just stop there. And that it has happened now, I think is so meaningful. I'm so glad it's part of her legacy. I'm so glad to be a Miss Juneteenth. I'm glad for it to be part of my legacy. And I hope that we can take it forward to being, like I said, an acknowledgement of the past and also a call for us to do some work for the future so that there is never anything like another Juneteenth again.
Right. That's great. Is there a way that we can stay connected with what the organizers of the event are doing, or a way that we can show our support?
Yeah, so there is their website, I'm pretty sure is juneteenthkc.com. Okay. Either that, or if you just Google Juneteenth KC, it comes up as a result. And they've done a lot of really great things besides the parade and the festival. They've done a lot of educational programs. They've given out food drives, and they've been helping with COVID vaccines and all kinds of really great stuff. There's been a real push to support small business, to support Black business, to be really intentional about, putting your money where your mouth is, literally. And about, if you say Black Lives Matter, then wear your t-shirt, put your yard sign out, and have actual Black people in your life. Don't make it just as something you wear. So I think doing those kinds of things, I think having these opportunities for people to share their experiences is a great way to honor the intent.
Yeah, no, that's great, and we appreciate always a call to action. And we're a community that's designed purposefully to think about inclusion, to think about diversity, and think about ways that we can be more accepting of people. If that story resonated with us in some other way, that oh my gosh, would I have said that? Maybe it's 10 years ago, but is that something that lives in my consciousness? What can I do about it? I think not being in denial about that, based on how we were raised or whatever, is very important. This was part of my thinking pattern, and what am I doing actively to change that? I think that's so important. I appreciate so much you being here with us on a Sunday and sharing that, and letting us meet your mama there in the chat. I don't know who got to chat with her, maybe in the breakout rooms. And again, I would really love it if you'd come back and talk about your advocacy for the elderly.
Sure, I would love it. one thing I say is that, you know, when we are supportive of the least of these, when we help the most vulnerable people, then we make it sort of flows out, you know, it's not trickle down. I don't want to say that, but it, you know, helping the people who need the most help means everybody gets lifted higher. So I would be more than happy to talk about that.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. And it's such a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you, everyone.
So with that, I will do a little bit more about my obligation to talk a little bit about Oasis, what it is. It's a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We're completely volunteer staffed and donation funded. We talked a little bit about our fundraising drive for the Veterans Community Project, but also we are getting ready to go back to in-person meetings later this year. Again, based on our value of reality is known through reason, we'll keep evaluating what the COVID situation is, but it's our intent to return to in-person meetings this fall. So with that in mind, we have, we just want to express our appreciation for all of our recurring donors, everyone that has helped keep us supported and you know, has made sure that now that we're going to look for this new building space, that we have the funding available. So we're the board is super grateful for that. And we just can't wait to see what happens next for our organization. Again, you can go to kcoasis.org. There's a donate drop down and you can find out ways that you can support monetarily what our future looks like. And so with that, I will go back to Betsy and Clark. There you are. You can find your little box here. And we will have you play us out for today. Again, this is Betsy Ellis and Clark Wyatt, the duo known as Betsy and Clark. And I'm excited to hear what you're going to share with us next.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for telling that story. We're joining you here from 11th and Benton. So go Benton.
Yeah.
East side.
Yep. That's right. That's right.
Oh my God. I mean, this is like the interconnectivity of all things this morning, hasn't it been? Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, the synchronicity that has happened throughout this whole session has been super powerful. And yeah, Kelly, just what an honor to hear you speak and to witness that. And I'm still a little bit choked up. And this is a song that I wrote the verses to many years ago, and Clark and I finished it together and recorded it 5 years ago or so. And we hadn't thought about it in a while, but already as things were going, before you were speaking, Kelly, Clark had this idea to do this song, and I think it's really appropriate. It's called In This World, and thank you all very much for inviting us to be a part of your community this morning. It's quite an honor. It's a hard time in this world to walk the right path. You may be lost if you travel too fast. When you don't know the way, it can darken your day in this world. It's a hard time in this world to speak with your heart. You may be faced with hurtful remarks. Search for the words and hope that you're heard in this world. Give of your love as you do for others and the ones next to you. Live in this world. It's a hard time in this world to do what's best. You may mean well and still make a mess. It can make you tired if you try too hard. A hard time in this world to know your role. All the world and world, where is your soul? Wanna feel placed, search for your place in this world. Give of your love as you do for others and the ones next to you. Live in this world. In this world.
That was just lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So again, I would also love to extend an invitation to you to hopefully join us in person once we get our new digs. That would be fantastic. I would love to see you again, and when we can, experience that in person energy. So with that, it just leaves for me. Oh, one thing I wanted to reiterate. It's in the chat, but people online can't see this. If you want to know more about what Betsy and Clark are up to, you can go to betsyandclark.com. I'll spell that out. It's BETSEAND and Clark CLARKE, because we talked about the unique spellings of both your names first thing this morning. So betsyandclark.com, and we will be tracking what you're up to, and hopefully till you return and see us again. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It's our pleasure.
And with that, it's just left for me to thank all of our presenters, Betsy Ellis and Clark Wyatt, Melanie and Clay Bollinger, and Kelly G. Loeb. What a fantastic Sunday morning. Let's keep that positive energy going. Take it out into the world with us. Enjoy some sunshine. Do something kind. And I look forward to seeing you all same time next week. All right. Take care, everybody. Love you. Bye.